It's been a ride. It's been such a ride.
It's been such a ride. I think I now realize like the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like, there's really like no limit to what we can achieve. And it's just like, how do we tap into like the collective vision? And also just like feedback from listeners is so important. Like, I really feel like I just value and hold like the Naked Beauty community so dear, because I feel like they've also really helped to shape the show. Hello, it's Brooke DeVard, and you're listening to the Naked Beauty Podcast. This is our final episode of 2024, and I'm joined by my incredible producer, Mbiye Kasonga.
Hello.
Longtime behind-the-scenes member of the Naked Beauty team. And this episode is really different because you are interviewing me, so I'm in the interviewee seat right now, which is different for me. I'm going to do my best. I have no idea what she's going to ask me. I have no idea what these questions are. Normally we'll talk beforehand for episodes. Oh, what are the questions? What are the topics? So this should be very interesting, but I thought this would be a really fun way. When you pitched it to me, like the great producer you are, I was like, this will be a fun way to wrap up the year.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to be in the hot seat. It's not really a hot seat. It's a
okay.
It's
I was going to say, I hope this is like a warm and I don't know how I feel about it being the hot seat. I'm like, let me get comfortable.
Cozy. I feel like we just can start at the top. It's been a really big year.
It has,
like,
but also
really,
like
really
you have to like
big.
introduce yourself.
Oh, true. You're right.
And explain who you are.
Yes,
and the amazing work that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'll do
you do a lot.
Intro. So. Okay, well, hello. This is not Brooke DeVard. This is Mbiye Kasonga. I am the producer for Naked Beauty, and I produce a couple other podcasts as well. I've been making podcasts for a decade now, I believe. What is it, 2024? Yeah, I've been making podcasts since pretty much 2014. I learned in a digital journalism class that I took in college. I went to the College of William and Mary, had a great digital journalism professor who taught us how to put together a podcast from beginning to end. That was our final project, and I haven't stopped since. So on Naked Beauty, like you mentioned, you know, we work together to ideate on the episodes, work on edits afterward, talk to a lot of people. I think that's the biggest thing. People are always asking me what the day-to-day of a producer looks like. And I think if you're a producer who produces, you're just talking to people all day long and trying to like make the pieces fit together to produce a beautiful story. So I'm excited to interview you. I feel like I've had so many hours worth of listening to your podcast, and I was a fan before I was the producer.
Cool. That's very cool.
And that's actually a really good place for us to start, because a few years ago, back in 2021, you were doing an anniversary episode. Okay. You put out a call to people, to the listeners, to have listeners come on the show. And I sent in an email.
Oh.
I wasn't on the show. I wasn't selected.
Okay.
But I figured this would be a good place for us to start.
Wow.
This is dated December 13th, 2021.
Okay. Wow.
Hi, Brooke. I'm hoping I'm not too late to get interviewed for the big anniversary podcast. I think it was 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did I respond to this?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. But also, now that you know me, you know how I miss emails.
No, it is all. I knew you were getting a flood,
okay.
But
oh my gosh.
I thought this was interesting.
Yes, please. I'm dying to hear this.
I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I listen to Naked Beauty because I believe the quickest way to get to know someone is to hear about the routines they do when no one is around. Yes. Beauty routines are so often done in a solo environment, but involve so much societal and communal context, which make them a great jumping off point to talk about culture as a whole. It's the little things that make up the big things, and I love that your podcast takes beauty seriously, both on a micro and a macro level. I hope I get selected to be interviewed, but if not, I hope this message at least lets you know how cool and impactful Naked Beauty is.
Wow. Beautiful email. So well said. And look at us here, 3 years later?
It is so, yeah, it's so funny to me. I found that. Actually, what's funny is I found it in the Naked Beauty Gmail.
Oh my gosh, probably unopened.
Forgot. And I was like late to the game in just kind of like submitting anyway. So no hard feelings at all. But that was the perspective that I was like coming to the table with as like we were starting to talk about producing the show. So I want to talk about creative collaboration. Why did you get to this point? I mean, you had done so much with Naked Beauty. Why did you feel like you needed a producer, and what do you think makes our working relationship work?
I think the fact that you understand the show and that it's so much deeper than beauty, like what you said about like the little things make up the big things and the micro is the macro. You know, even working with editors that didn't have any subtext in beauty or didn't know the names or didn't know the topics, it's hard to make things like content cuts or decisions when you aren't familiar with this world. And I think knowing that you were a listener really helped. And I also just think you, like me, have a real appreciation for like audible experiences. Like,
yes,
I grew up listening to public radio. Like, I grew up listening.
Okay, were you also an NPR kid?
I loved NPR.
Yes.
But you know what? I was more than NPR. Every single day after school, I would come home and I would turn on 107.5, which was WBLS, and I would listen to Wendy Williams.
Wow.
I would listen to Wendy Williams. Charlemagne was her intern at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And I would listen to Wendy Williams. And I would listen to her for like her like 2-hour show. Just like, this is way before she has her like TV show. She was just a radio personality.
Yeah.
I love audio. And I think you really love audio too, and you appreciate audio. So I think that just made the working relationship really great. And I think you just, you love beauty. So you get it. I was just like, she gets it.
What have you learned about building a team, working with a producer? Because I think a lot of people see Naked Beauty from the outside looking in, and they're like, holy shit. Like, it just keeps leveling up.
Yes.
And there's a lot of work that goes into it on the back end. But there's work done before that to find the people in the first place. So, what have you learned about building a team, working with a team, being a boss?
Everyone works really hard on the Naked Beauty team. I think you can agree.
Yeah.
There are several text messages going off at all hours of the day, every day.
Yeah.
You know, Alexa will text me. She'll be like, oh, I just saw someone, stitch something on TikTok. And I'll be like, great, send it to Bridget. And then you'll say, oh, I think we could do this trend to tease our next episode. Like, everyone is on it. And I think it's because everyone cares about the show. Like, it's not like we are all employees of iHeartMedia that have been assigned to work on this podcast.
Right.
Like, we've all elected to do this. And it's a small team. It's 5 of us. But I think that everyone is really proud of the work. And I hope that everyone feels like part of the success of the show. And you, like me, are a very hard worker. You love to work.
I do, admittedly. I think we all do. I think you might have selected for that trait, actually. Because I think the thing that people aren't aware of is everybody who works on Naked Beauty also does other things.
Yes.
Has jobs, has businesses, whatever.
Yes. Everyone is hustling in their own kind of separate way. And also everyone's also been on the show now a while. How long has it been for you?
It's almost 2 years. April of 2020.
2 years.
3 is when we started working together.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of really like hit our groove.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's fun.
It is. It's very fun. Like, the behind the scenes, I mean, it is a lot of work. But like you said, I think there are people who really, really derive so much satisfaction from working hard in general, and I'm definitely one of them. I'm recently accepting that I am a workaholic, but like, I don't even know that I consider it to be a bad thing. My brain is just going. And so I'm like, might as well. And it's funny, like, my thought is always, well, what else am I going to do with this life?
Right.
Like, I play and I have fun too, but like, like I am interested in, for me, it was first social media, doing little videos with my friends, and then realizing how beautiful like the act of creation is.
It is.
And doing a weekly podcast means you're creating something net new every week.
That's very true.
So it's such a thrill to have that kind of like quick feedback loop, but it's also a lot of work.
Yes, it's also a lot of work.
Pros and cons. what is your relationship now to work? How has motherhood changed that for you?
It's interesting. I think it shifted with motherhood first, and then it's shifted in the past year working for myself. So I can speak about those two shifts. I think the first shift with motherhood, I remember when I was coming back from maternity leave, having meetings, sitting in on meetings, and having this kind of overwhelming feeling like this is not important. This is not how I want to spend my time. What are we even talking about in this meeting? And it took me a while to like even feel invested in the conversations happening in the workplace because I'd just been out of it for so long. But I think that's when I started to have these inklings of like, I want to own my own time. And I think I'd been on such a corporate trajectory. Of course, you all know my mom, who's been on the podcast. She's like, was Miss Corporate America.
Right.
So I think I'd been on this very kind of corporate trajectory. But then I think having a child made me feel like, okay, what would it look like to really control my own time and work for myself? And then this past year, being an entrepreneur, I think it has been good for both my own like work product, but also for being a mom because I do have that flexibility.
Yeah.
I can change my schedule in a way where I can go to a soccer game at 3:00 because I want to be there and just not schedule a meeting then versus like, oh, we have our like product XFN at 3:00. Like you must be there because you're leading the meeting. So I really appreciate the flexibility that working for myself has allowed me with motherhood.
I like the way that you put that. You were thinking about owning your time, not so much thinking about owning a business. Like I think we're often thinking about the venture versus the life and the lifestyle.
Yes. And it's a lifestyle that you're responsible for.
Right.
Which can be a burden.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're stressed and you're overworked and you're burnt out, that's on you. You can't really blame your boss for that. So it's up to you to kind of find your groove, figure out your schedule, build the lifestyle that's going to make you happy and produce the best work.
Right. I've recently kind of shifted my own thinking and realizing that taking care of me takes care of the work.
Yes, that's smart.
It's, it all sort of flows together. I think it can feel like getting away from work will make it worse. But oftentimes, I think, especially in creative work, stepping away actually makes it a lot better. And having a lot of disparate influences makes it a lot better. Experiencing life makes it a lot better.
Oh, absolutely.
I love that. And you and I work really closely together. So I have also observed some traits about you that I really admire. One that I think that we share is that we're not perfectionists.
No.
And I think people would be surprised to hear that. Talk to me about your philosophy on like perfectionism. And like, for me, I feel like it can hurt as a creative person to be a perfectionist. What are your thoughts?
Done is better than perfect. You just have to do the thing and put it out into the world. And I think no one is scrutinizing you as much as you think people are scrutinizing you. I think especially with podcasting, I get so many like hand-wringing questions about like, I want to start a podcast, and it's like, no one's going to listen for the first, it's fine. Like put out a product and get into the habit of putting it out consistently.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to help you and grow you. I think the other thing is like people love a glow up. Like people love to see you grow in real time. So I rather show up in front of my audience and saying like, this is where I am now and bring them along the journey than show up with it perfect and polished and like ready to go. So I think the more transparent you are about where you are in the journey, the better.
That's so true. And I get similar hand-wringing questions as a producer where people often think when they are starting a podcast, they need a producer.
No. I did my podcast for 6 years without a producer.
Right. Yeah. You might drive a producer crazy if you start out with one, because I think producers are similar to editors in the sense that it's about taking a product that already exists, a voice that already exists, and then elevating and adding to that rather than this person's going to magically come down and give you a podcast idea that's going to give you 1 million followers.
Yes. I also, what the thing I also reflect on a lot is about like who I admire and who I look up to. And I don't admire anyone for being perfect, or I don't look up to anyone because, I think they're so perfect. It's not a trait showing up flaw-free is not a trait that I aspire to.
Right. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And that's so interesting. I never thought about it that way. The people that I admire, it's not because they're doing it flawlessly necessarily.
Right.
It's because they're doing it.
Exactly.
Period.
It's because they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel like the other trait that you have is this like real capacity for change. And I don't know if you even have like a fully thought out philosophy on this, but it's something that I've observed of like, how do you move so gracefully through change? Like change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm very decisive. I think I'm a very decisive person. So I can make a decision quickly. And I understand that like you just have to pivot and adapt and pivot and adapt and pivot and adapt. I think I've learned from other people around me, like Sir John is always like, what does he say? He says like delusional optimism. He's always like, it's all gonna work no matter what's going on. Like I remember before the Law Roach interview, it was like, Law is on a private jet from Paris. He's sick. We're testing for COVID. I was just like, this day, I was just like, I can't handle it. My nerves are shot. Like this is just too much for me. And he was just like, babe, it's all gonna work out. And I'm like, okay, I love that because I don't think I'm super sunny and optimistic all the time.
Yeah.
I'm more like grounded in reality. When the reality hits, I can like quickly pivot and adjust. But I think, yeah, it's just about making decisions quickly and then like moving on.
I think that's a trait that is not talked about enough. I think particularly among women, we get this like rap for being really indecisive. And maybe that's where I have also kind of overcorrected. And I'm also a very decisive person.
Yes, you are.
In part because for me, I'm like, what are the stakes?
Right.
Like you said, you know, you put out the podcast and it's terrible, but no one listens to it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
You can take things down, you know, maybe it'll live on the internet forever. But like, I think, like you said, being grounded in reality while also having a foot in this sort of like optimistic sense. I also think when you trust yourself, you know that it's going to work out because you know you're willing to do the work to make it work.
Yes. I will say I really value that you have an opinion. And a lot of people, I don't know if it's that they're trying to be polite or they just actually don't have an opinion, but like you will push back on me. You will say like, I don't think this is a strong place to start. I don't think we need this. I think we should cut this. I think we should move this question here. I don't think this is a good person for us to interview. They may be superstar, but no, we shouldn't do it. It's beneath us as Naked Beauty.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, and you're almost a decade younger than me, but you do not hold back with your opinion. And that's what makes you a valuable producer. And I think a lot of people in the workplace, no matter what job you have, your value is your opinions, right?
Yes.
It's your point of view.
Yes.
Come with a point of view. That's what makes you a valuable asset to a team.
10,000 times over. I feel like I get the question too from people who want to be producers, how do you become a producer? And in my mind, I'm like, produce, like make something.
Right.
But it's exactly that. If you want to have an opinion, if you want to be the voice in the room that is shaping the creative vision, you have to say something. Yeah. And I think we often end up in situations with people we admire, and it's really hard to critique anything that they've created. But I think if I had one tip, especially as a producer who's being brought in to something that already exists, do your homework, find a million things that are great, find ideas that you can build on, like, oh, I think in the future we should do X, Y, and Z, and then find something to critique.
Yes.
Because people really respect it when you're able to not only have the wherewithal to do your research and find, obviously, something that makes sense to critique, but like find things that can actually be retooled and reworked.
Right.
Because like you said, like we are only ourselves. We only have our perspective to bring to the table.
Right.
So,
and that's also a very important part about building a team. You're not just hiring people that are executing on your ideas. You're hiring people that are bringing new ideas to the table, building on your ideas, and making something way better than what you could have created on your own. So it's always been really important to me And that's why I like take so long, like interviewing and like having people join the team and making sure that everyone meshes together, that people are coming with something additive.
Yeah.
Not just like following my orders, right?
Right.
Like I admire Alexa for coming to me and saying, okay, I think we should approach YouTube this way. Bridget will push back on me and say, I think we should approach TikTok this way. Kayleen will say, I think the edit is stronger like this, right? So everyone has a point of view that makes the end content better.
Right. And like in that, I think is a great piece of advice, which is not to feel siloed necessarily, but to hone the places where you have expertise. Mm-hmm. So if social is your bag and you know it inside and out, don't feel like you need to be a podcaster just because podcasting is a thing, right? But like, how can you add, right? Like Bridget's not coming to you and saying, I want to be on the show. Like she's saying, hey, here's how you can take your show to this other channel. Right. People are always looking for their blind spots, I think. And if someone is coming to you for your expertise, like reach into that bag of knowledge and be okay saying that. It took me a really long time to say that I've been making podcasts for a decade, despite literally having done that, in part because I didn't feel like, oh, well, I'm not an expert. Like I haven't really worked professionally in this and I haven't done it. But our working relationship started because we were just chatting and I was like, oh yeah, I produce podcasts.
Right.
So yeah, if you don't own your expertise, no one else is going to do it for you.
Very true.
Yeah. I want to go back to that idea about perfectionism because I'd like to play you something special.
Oh gosh, all these like surprises. I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
This is, you're going to totally cringe. So we only have to listen for like 15 minutes, but this
15 minutes?
Oh, not 15 minutes, 15 seconds.
Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared. Okay.
This is the very first episode 1 of Naked Beauty.
Oh my gosh, why are we doing this right now? Okay.
I'm Brooke, and you were listening.
Wait, we have to get the...
Okay, yes, Lauren Hill.
Which the logo was different at this
Josephine
point.
Baker.
Hello. I am Brooke, and you are listening to the first ever episode of the Naked Beauty podcast.
Oh my God.
This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and
I love that.
Oh my God.
One, because your voice sounds so little.
Yeah, why do I sound like that, girl? I'm like,
you were young. It's been
Brooke,
8 years.
and you're listening to the Naked Beauty podcast.
What does it feel like hearing that? Do you remember recording it?
I remember recording it. I remember thinking, okay, what do I want the music to be? And from the beginning, I had this idea of like, okay, I want to do like early 2000s, like 90s jams. And even just saying like the hello, it's Brooke. I didn't say my last name, which is interesting. And it's so, and I've also changed my last name since being married. I was married when I did that too, but I didn't legally change my last name. Anyway, I remember, what was the first sentence I said? This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I just did it. I put it up on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I put it up on SoundCloud and it felt great. Like you said, there's something so fun about creating. I don't create for an audience. The actual process of like creating and contributing something that even if just a handful of people enjoy, that's like what drives me. So I was having fun.
Yeah. And you put it up on SoundCloud,
yes,
which is not necessarily a place to put podcast. Like you were just like putting it out there, right?
Well, back then, that's all we had. There wasn't even like an iTunes RSS feed. I mean, it was like just the Wild West of podcasting in 2016.
You've essentially watched an entire industry change.
Yes, absolutely.
What's changed since that episode was recorded when it comes to podcasting?
So much. I mean, people didn't know. They were like, how do I listen to a podcast? I mean, that was like a bit like a serious question. How do I listen to a podcast? How do I access a podcast? The podcast that was really popular at the time was Serial from NPR.
Yep.
That came out in 2015, I think. So people kind of had an awareness of what podcasts were. The only consistent podcasters I knew about were Joe Rogan and Mark Maron. And I listened to both of their podcasts very often because like I didn't have, and then there was The Read.
Yep.
And then like Brilliant Idiots and Horrible Decisions came along. I asked Chris Moreau, who was behind the scenes on The Read. I like had like a lunch with him at Soho House. And I was just like, I'm just so interested in podcasts and like what you're doing. And it's crazy because now I'm sitting here in WTF Media Studios with, where Wheezy and Mandy, record Horrible Decisions, which was also an early podcast that I listened to. But yeah, it's been insane to see how podcasting has grown now. And I think it's only going to continue to grow. So I feel like excited that I get to be part of this like kind of podcasting renaissance.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You were kind of early to the wave, early to the like the big wave of podcasters, but there's been multiple waves and now it's so video centric. Podcasts are not only ubiquitous, but they're like a platform. Like people start podcasts to build their platform. Do you think that's changed the quality of the conversations?
I don't think so. I think the more the merrier. The more the merrier. I think, what is that saying? Like a rising tide like lifts all boats, right? Like I think that it's great that so many people are in podcasting, and I hope more and more voices and more people join podcasting, specifically like Black women in beauty. I mean, there were no beauty podcasts. There were so few Black women in podcasting. Now I can look around and say there are all of these like Black women specifically that have podcasts about beauty and have beauty conversations. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
That just wasn't a category before.
Yeah. And I think it's similar to social media when people talk about a market being oversaturated, like, oh, maybe this isn't worth doing. I don't think that's true either. Like, I think you're always going to find the people who want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
If you do it well, if you market, or maybe, I don't know. Like, I think if you're doing it for yourself,
yes,
you will always be satisfied. But the hope is that you find your audience.
Yes. And I think the video thing is interesting because I don't watch podcasts. I listen to podcasts still. But there's so many people that have told me that they've discovered naked beauty through YouTube.
Right.
So I'm like, if video is helping to reach a new audience and like reach new people, then I'm happy.
Yeah. I was an Oprah Super Soul Sunday podcast listener.
Yes, I remember that podcast.
S-Town was the podcast that got me into podcasts.
Shout out to Brian Reed. Have you heard his new show?
No.
Question Everything. It's very good. You would like it a lot.
I'm sure I would. I mean, we talked about this already, but I was definitely an NPR kid. And so for me, discovering podcasts was like the feeling that I had when I would listen to like the American Story Hour on NPR. And that was the thing that always really fascinated me, was not just the ability to like tell the news or whatever, but to be able to have these like evening programs where it was storytelling.
Yes.
And it was just people telling stories about their lives. Like it didn't even have to be this like grand thing. And that comes back to our mutual love of audio and of radio ultimately. And I always say like video might come and go. The radio will work after the apocalypse.
Yes, that's
so
true.
I'm like depending on it for future job security.
Yes.
I want to talk about the beauty industry. We've now had episodes with Sabrina Alba, John Legend, Miss Tina Knowles, Issa Rae. And I remember early on listening to your podcast and hearing you talk about celebrity beauty brands and not necessarily in a positive light. Have the conversations that you've had with the celebrities who have come on the show changed your perspective at all? What is your thought on the sort of celebrity beauty bubble, as it were?
Absolutely. I love this question. Put me in the hot seat. So there are two parts to this answer. One, I have now been in the process of being a founder myself. As you know, in the past year, I have released product that I've had to sell on a website. And I understand so much more about what it takes to launch a brand, build a brand, and sell a product to people. And then two, yes, talking to these celebrities about their beauty endeavors has been really interesting. So what I admire about specific brands, celebrity brands, is when they use their celebrity to get access to resources to do something that would be otherwise very difficult to do. So when we think about John Legend and Loved One, he didn't need a skincare line, right? But John Legend can get the capital needed to create a product that actually has really good quality ingredients like your jojoba oils, your sea buckthorn oils. I remember I talked to the president of the company at the time, and I was like, I buy sea buckthorn oil. Like, it is expensive. And she's like, not when you're buying like 30,000 units of it, because you have a contract with CVS and Walmart, and you have built-in distribution to 10,000 stores on launch day. And the fact that he said, okay, we're going to launch this brand. We're going to test it on melanin-rich skin from the beginning. That is not something that like a newcomer in the beauty space can do. Like at the price point, with the research, with the backing. So I admire when celebrities basically like use their power for good.
Right.
I think about like Sabrina Elba and her husband Idris, and this like desire that they have to like shine a light on the continent and African beauty. And who better than this like gorgeous woman, this gorgeous couple with their like Hollywood good looks, to be the people to make a beauty a household name. And the fact that she like links arms with the girls like Giada from Ami Collet, like she's not just like, oh, I'm up here a celebrity. Like she understands that there are other people that have been in the beauty space that she builds with. So I think she's like been intentional about building community. I loved our Alicia Keys episode this year. One, I think Keys Soul Care is phenomenal product. Like I actually think it's like really, really great product. But you can tell that Alicia Keys had a very strong point of view about self-care, why it was important to her, why she wanted to create ritual. I saw this Pamela Anderson clip from the Drew Barrymore show yesterday, and it didn't annoy me. Annoy is not specific enough of a word, but Drew Barrymore basically says like, Pamela, like you've owned this space of like being makeup free. And I was like, the Alicia Keys erasure.
Alicia Keys erasure.
The erasure
and
of
the
it
girls
all.
have been making fun of her for it for so long.
Yes. Like Alicia Keys is someone, and you know, we talked about her cornrows and her braids on the episode. Like she's always had a point of view about beauty. So she's come into this industry with a point of view and wanting to make something that's intentional and for many people. So I think the celebrities that we've spoken to are people that have a strong point of view or are doing something truly unique in the beauty space.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up Jara and Ami Collet, because I almost wonder what you've learned from the opposite end of the spectrum, from the people who are bootstrapping or independent or just trying to build something net new that we've never seen before.
Yes. She's been on the podcast 3 times actually, but she was like when she even had the inkling of the idea of Ami Collet, she shared it on the podcast.
Yep.
She gave me a pep talk at her launch in LA. You were there. And I was like, I've just released these fragrances. I was like, selling things is difficult. It's like a lot of work. And she was like, girl, I remember when I had 5,000 lip oils and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sell 5,000 lip oils. She's like, now we do that in like a month. I don't know if that's the exact right cadence. She's like, now they're flying off the shelves. Like, she's like, it took time to get there. She's like, I didn't have a big Instagram audience. She was just like, I had all of this stock in this inventory. And I was like, how am I going to sell this product? She's like, you will grow. Like, it's like when you first start, it feels like, how am I ever going to do this? Like, it is really my admiration for beauty founders after the experience of developing something myself and selling something myself has just gone tenfold.
Yeah.
It is really difficult to do. So I really appreciate hearing from founders that have bootstrapped. I mean, she's raised money.
Right.
Ami Collet is also the only beauty brand I've ever invested in. People come to me with
which is
like,
really telling, because you've talked to a lot of people on the show.
And people come to me with pitch decks all the time. I'm like, one, I don't have like extra cash like this. Like, I'm so flattered that you're asking me for like a $20,000 like seed investment. Don't really have that lying around. But Ami Collet is just one of the brands that I just like really believed in, and I still really believe in. And again, everything they do is so intentional, and they have such a clear point of view and clear audience in mind. And that's what I just always think about for everything that Naked Beauty produces, whether it's a fragrance or hair rollers. I want it to be done at a high standard and with intention so that it means something when you're consuming a Naked Beauty product, even if that product is the podcast.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. Like thinking about, well, I think if you're putting your business hat on, which I did go to business school. So I'm like, okay, the podcast is a product. It's bringing a lot of people in. And then there's a sort of like funnel to all of the other ways to experience naked beauty. And I think you did something kind of interesting when you were planning to release products, right? Like you told us last year what was going to happen. And what has the lived experience been like versus the planning and the sort of dreaming of it?
It's really gratifying to have something out in the world in people's hands that they experience. Like, it makes me so happy that like you use the hair curlers. Like when you send me like a little selfie with like the curlers in, I'm like, you look so cute. And
I love them.
Yes. And you're like, and like the fact that I remember using flexi rods and going to sleep and like waking up like angry because my sleep quality was bad. Like my neck hurt. Like,
yes.
And I'm just like, it shouldn't be like this, you know?
Yeah.
And I think about people putting in hair rollers and like having a beautiful sleep and then unwrapping them in the morning, like Christmas morning, and seeing their curls. Like these are things that make me really happy when I hear people that say they wear the Naked Beauty fragrance every day. I mean, I wear it every day, but
it's really good, guys.
It is great. Definitely buy a bottle if you don't have a bottle yet. That's my marketing plug.
And I will say this is like a genuine plug as well for me, because if there's one fragrance that gets me a compliment every single time I wear it, even if it's just from the people in my own home.
Yes.
Like that, the Naked Beauty fragrance does it every time. It
does. Yeah. Every time people are like, that smells so good. But feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm part of people's lives and their routines, that feels so good. But on the other hand, even people that have never purchased anything from Naked Beauty, like when people say like I spend my Mondays with you, that's the highest compliment.
Yeah.
Because that's time.
Right.
That's a relation. We're in a relationship.
Yeah. No, truly. I think that's one of the things that draws me to podcasts as a medium as well, is the intimacy of an hour spent with someone weekly or bi-weekly or whatever the cadence is. There's no other scenario in 2024 where anyone has my undivided attention for an hour, including my coworkers, like on a Teams meeting, right? Like even when you're on a Teams meeting, you're floating to other tabs, but to stay engaged and sort of like enraptured in something for an hour that you can't even see is a big deal. It's hard to tangibly see that in the same way with a product though, right? Like we can see the download numbers, but it's so hard to imagine that many people actually listening.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's like, people always say like, oh, my podcast, I'm struggling with growth. I'm like, if you have 100 listeners, if you were in a room full of 100 people and they were all sitting there listening to you, you would be like, holy, like this is a huge audience, you know?
Yeah. No, that's so true. I want to know what your like larger perspective on the beauty industry is, right? Like I think we have a really interesting vantage point kind of as inside outsiders a little bit. You always say you've never worked in beauty, but like you have a job in beauty essentially. Where are we going next? Like we had lip oil mania, we had tomato blush, we've had every food version of a makeup trend, we've got high contrast makeup right now, where are the products going though?
Ooh. It's so interesting because I feel like I'm able to predict trends before they happen. Like the whole body care movement, like I saw it coming. I saw it coming from a mile away. As soon as like white women were talking about like putting on lotion, I was like, guys, this is new for you. But like I was like, they're gonna make this like a thing. And now body care is like this huge thing, and everyone's talking about body care. And I'm like, Black women have been doing body care
for so long,
since the dawn of time. But happy to have more people putting on lotion after the shower. That is net positive.
And hopefully washing their legs while they're in there too.
Yes, hopefully we're like washing, we're scrubbing, we're putting on creams afterwards. I think like, again, this isn't to just reinforce what I've already done, but I do think fragrance is a really interesting space that's going to grow in beauty in the next few years. I think fragrance is just like a great arena for storytelling, for expressing your mood. It's just like one of those things, like fragrance can alter your mood in a way that very few other things can.
Yeah.
I also think we are moving towards more neutrality when it comes to decisions people make about their beauty and upkeep. So I think I used to be a lot more judgmental about like Botox and filler and all of those sort of things. But as I've spoken to women that do those things, I've realized the choice is theirs. Like, if that's what people want to do. Now, I think a lot of people will tell you that we're going to move away from it. The pendulum's going to swing the other way and people are going to stop doing all of these things. I don't think that's true.
Interesting. So I don't think people will stop doing those things, but I do think, and I think this is already happening, that there will be a sort of elevated status for natural beauty.
Interesting. I don't think so.
Really?
I actually think natural beauty is going to be completely overrated because you can pay for everything.
Right.
You can pay for the perfect eyebrows. You can pay for the perfect nose. You can pay.
Well, I think that's exactly it. I think instead of going on TikTok and saying, here are all the things that I do, I think this is already happening. There's a division between, there's people who will go heavy on telling you all the treatments they do. There's people who are like, I don't do any treatments. I'm a skincare girl.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily an elevated status, but it's a thing. It's an in-group.
I feel like those are my people. Like, I'm like, skincare is the thing to spend time on.
I think being able to be the girl that wakes up in the morning and is like, I just washed my face, is going to become not necessarily elevated, but it'll be part of the narrative. I think it already is, right? Like, Nara Smith probably has gotten work done, I imagine. She's like 21 though, so I hope not.
Yeah.
I think her face just looks like that. But in the same way that we have this like trad wife movement or whatever, like there's a certain amount of like going back to the earth, being natural, and I think that, I don't know that it'll be a dominant storyline, but I think it'll be like, here's this beautiful movie star, and by the way, she hasn't had any work done. Isn't that crazy?
Interesting.
Where the whispers used to be, oh my gosh, I think she had work done. I think it's going to be, I think that's actually her original face.
Her original face. Interesting. We'll see. I think it's going to become more and more common.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it already has. I also feel that when we talk about treatments and rituals, like we're often talking about Botox and things like that, but there's such a long history of women being moved through different types of beauty treatments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that I do think that's just going to continue.
Yes. Well, I think about the top of, was it this year or last year, where we wanted to do an episode about Ozempic. And it was so early in the Ozempic conversation. And I'm happy that we didn't because, again, I think it's really difficult to have those conversations without judgment. And that's like what I really, really value. As I get older, the older I get, the less judgmental I become. I don't judge anyone for any choice that they make.
Yeah.
And I think that when I was younger, I had like judgments and like, you should accept your body this way, and you should do this, and you should age gracefully this way. And like people, and now I'm just like, you want to have lashes out to here, and you want to do the most severe contour ever, and you want to have like filler, and you want to get the BBL, and good. Do what you want. Like body autonomy. If you want to be on Ozempic and that is, and you don't need it, but you just want to be on it and it's your body and that's what you want for yourself.
Right.
Then that's okay.
Yeah. There's no one way to live a life.
Yes.
There's no one way to be beautiful. And that is, I can definitely understand that like movement toward neutrality. I think you have a lot more grace than the general public. I don't know if everyone is going to move towards, like, I think we've already moved toward whatever neutrality we have. And I'm glad that you brought up Ozempic because I think that's a great example where I lost the weight naturally. Right? Like it's already sort of like a separate class to have lost the weight without the help, quote unquote.
Right.
And I think all of these tools that we use and that we introduce for ourselves inherently create in-groups and out-groups.
Yes.
And some people value that status, whether that's I have the BBL and I have the money to be able to do all these treatments, or it's I'm natural. I accept myself, right? Like it's a separation and a division either way.
Yes. Yeah. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. You talk a lot, or you've talked before about how important partnership is to everything, life in general. But I think particularly for young, ambitious women.
Yes.
It is really important to have a great partner to support that, to choose a great partner to support that. How has your partnership, your marriage sort of anchored you through the last 2 years?
Oh, wow. I mean, Umut is just incredible. I'm so grateful to him every single day. One, I think he supports and believes in my dreams. Like, he is more delusional than I am about my own career. Like, he literally will always tell me, like, you can do anything. Like, you can be anything like this. He always tells me, like, this is just the beginning. Like, you're going to look back on this. Like, he is my number one supporter, cheerleader. He believes in everything that I do. But then he also backs that up with action, meaning if he has to watch Mavi one night because I'm working late, not just one night, many nights, then he's going to do that. If he, like this morning, he brought me breakfast in bed because he knew that I was prepping for this big interview I had today. He shows up for me in ways that show me that he really cares and he's really invested in my success.
Right.
And I know Sean has been, your amazing
Sean
partner,
is
Sean,
the best.
has been the same for you. And it just makes me happy when I see young women find themselves partnered with men or women that recognize like their hustle, that like recognize like you're grinding, you're working. Like, I'm not like, right now we're recording late. My husband's not going to text me and be like, what are you making for dinner?
Right.
Like, he knows he's on his own. He knows you guys are on your own tonight. You know?
I think that is so true. And I would add to that, like, the piece of, him saying like, this is just the beginning, you can do anything. For me, what's really interesting in Sean and in observing Sean support me, my success is never a surprise to him. He is never shocked,
so true.
Never surprised. And that's like a level of assurance and trust that I don't take for granted at all, because he assumes that I'm going to succeed. And if for some reason there's, a stall or a quote unquote failure along the way, he's there to be like, okay, great, this didn't work, but you're still going to go places. Like, we still have somewhere to be. Like, we still, which is really great. And then I think as a now proclaimed workaholic, he's great about telling me when it's time to ease up. If I'm like, oh, I need to work tonight, and he's like, what nights don't you work? I'm like, oh, wait. You're right.
Yes. That's the other thing when you're someone that loves to work a lot, making sure that you do those date nights, that you do have nights that you're just at home watching a movie, cooking dinner. Like, that time is really sacred to us as well. Yeah.
And I love what you said about proving it with actions. I'll tell this story about Sean because he's the best. But when we interviewed Miss Tina Knowles, I mean, that was insane, right? Like, that whole process was insane. And at the time, I was living in New York. Sean was living in DC. He flew from DC to LA to be here with me for that recording.
Amazing.
But not only did he do that, he got a flight that landed an hour before me so that he could go get a rental car and pick me up at the airport, and then drove me to the studio for everything that we needed to do that day. So to that point, right? Like, words are great. I'm a words of affirmation girl. Like, I appreciate the sort of like, you got this, you're going to succeed. But when someone shows up to take part in your success, it's like a whole nother level.
Yes. And I know you and Sean are not engaged, but I'm always just like, that is husband material.
Yeah.
That is the type of person you want to build your life with. And I'm also excited, we have our dinner tomorrow night where we're going to celebrate the wrap of Naked Beauty this year with Sir John and Queen, his producer. But also I wanted Umut to come because he's all like, every time I'm sitting in every single episode, he's been there behind the scenes. He also listens to the podcast.
Sean downloads every episode.
Yes, he gives me feedback. He'll say, I really like this. He just listened to the Bridget Romanek episode about interior design. He's like, I learned so much. Like, where's her book? Like, so yeah, like I think it's really important to find a partner that's part of your team and is invested in your success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that ladders down, right? Like, whether we see it or not, we're always sort of modeling a way to live life to someone, and seeing your ambition and motherhood and partnership sort of gel together, and also knowing a little bit of the behind the scenes, it's really clear that like a really strong, stable partner is a big part of that.
Yes. And you know what my mom told me? I was telling her, I was like, I'm wrapping up the year and I've been thinking about doing, like a year in review, all of the growth stuff. And she's like, and you did all of this while you were pregnant.
Right. So
it's like, oh yeah, there's that too.
Like you have a human in your body right now.
Yes. Like I went through like the first trimester having no energy, feeling sick, feeling nauseous, all the doctor's appointments. Like, yes, like doing all of this year while pregnant. I mean, essentially my first year for a full calendar year working for myself also.
Yeah. And your first non-COVID pregnancy too, right? Like
yes.
That's a big difference. The whole world is moving again. Yes.
It's been a lot. It's been a very eventful year, but I'm so grateful for every moment, the ups and the downs.
How are you feeling about bringing a girl into the world?
Oh, you know what? I thought I was going to like be chill about gender. I'm not. I've already painted her nursery pink. The room, the ceiling. I've done this like beautiful like Roman clay in this soft pink. I'm getting custom curtains made next week in like a blush color. Like I've already started buying like the little outfits, the little dresses.
I'm so excited. It's crazy because, you know, baby is baking, has no idea who we are, but we're all like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet her.
Oh my gosh. And here's the thing, right? Like she could be like, I hate dresses. I hate pink.
And it will still all be worth it.
What is all of this, right? Like it's such an antiquated idea of like gender. Like, oh, I'm having a little girl. And like I thought like I was like more evolved and like I wouldn't fall into it. But no, I'm like,
I think there's something to the mirroring, right? Like you've been a girl, you're now a woman.
Yeah.
And you know how special that is.
Yes. Women are just so special.
Right? And so like the thought of being able to like bring another girl who will eventually be a woman into the world. And you also have a really matrilineal family.
Yes, very strong women in our family. Strong women in our family.
I'm excited. And I'm glad that you mentioned Sir John. How was it sharing the mic?
Oh, so I mean, Sir John, one of the loveliest people.
Genuinely,
right? Like you've experienced it, you see our working relationship. I think before I came to LA, actually when I first got to LA, people were like, people in LA are so fake and it's so Hollywood and blah, blah, blah. And I just find him to be one of the most genuine people that I've met. And he's genuinely interested in connecting with people. I think Sir John is just such a genuinely like good person. And that's what makes him great to be around. And then you layer on top of that, like his movie star good looks.
And truly the handsomest man in the world.
Just like so handsome, so charismatic.
Yeah.
But like at the core, he's just a good person.
Yeah.
He's a good person.
That was honestly a big lesson for me when we did the Sir John episode last December and we put it up on YouTube, and seeing the comments roll in from people who had met him for 15 minutes 20 years ago saying he was so wonderful. Yeah. Like it's such a testament to being yourself in all situations and being kind in all situations, because you really don't know where you'll end up and who will remember the sort of kindness that you've showed them along the way.
Totally. And it was a risk for the podcast as well, for the existing listeners. I didn't want to like alienate anyone or be like, this isn't the show I signed up for.
Yeah.
We did 10 episodes co-hosted together this year. Now there are 52 weeks a year and the podcast comes out every single week. So some people have been like, oh, is he a permanent part of the show? And I'm like, no, we kind of did this series together. He's welcome to come back anytime. But it was also a big creative risk. I've been doing it alone for a really long time, but I was willing to take the risks because I could feel, and that's why we interviewed him first. Like I could just feel this is going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he is someone who really is such a true creative in every sense of the word. So, you know, you mentioned as we were setting up, like he's telling us how the lights should go. He's telling us, right? Like I feel like he is invested in a full vision and he's going to set the stage. He's going to get the plants. He's going to talk about the light. Like his brain operates on so many levels creatively, which is really such an exciting thing to bring to the show.
Yes. He's added to the Naked Beauty universe.
Yes, so much so.
Yes.
What keeps you excited about podcasting and doing Naked Beauty?
I love getting to know people. I love talking to people, and I love sharing people's stories in a way that inspires others. Amelia called me today and she was like, I told my fiance, she's like, I'm going to have a home birth. She's like, I listened to Elaine and I just need my next house to have a great shower because I'm going to have a home birth and I'm going to do the shower epidural.
Right.
Just the way she did. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, being able to impact the way people see their lives or decisions that they make or just make them think about something more deeply is something that I really value. And it's something that's like so sacred and special. So being a part of that for people really matters to me.
Yeah. I'm excited for our break.
Yes. Well, I told on our last team meeting, I was like, literally no one deserves a break more than us.
Truly. I'm very, very excited. But I'm also excited to come back in 2025 and keep telling bigger, better beauty stories.
Yes.
I don't know. We might be making Naked Beauty the movie at some point.
Let's see.
When you and I first started working together, I remember we had a conversation maybe like a month in, and I think we had booked a big interview, and I don't even remember who it is now, which is like very telling. But we both said to each other, like, oh, wow, like we're on a rocket ship. Like this is really happening.
Yeah.
And here we are. Like a year and some change later. It's been a ride. It's been such a ride.
It's been such a ride. I think I now realize like the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like, there's really like no limit to what we can achieve. And it's just like, how do we tap into like the collective vision? And also just like feedback from listeners is so important. Like I really feel like I just value and hold like the Naked Beauty community so dear because I feel like they've also really helped to shape the show.
They're also a group of, I mean, I know it's majority women because I see the stats behind the scenes, but it's a group of really smart people.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really smart people who are all doing incredible things in their own lives.
Absolutely.
I look at the comments after every single episode goes live on social, and it is always amazing to hear like, oh, this was such a great interview, or I really liked this, or I thought about this. And now even seeing like the Law Roach clip that's been kind of going around,
super
right?
viral, yeah.
Like you said, like bringing that sense of a new perspective, but also genuine lack of judgment and affirmation, unparalleled.
Yes.
So it's been such a gift working with you for the last year and a half. This sounds like we're ending. I'm not going anywhere. But I think it was really important to me that we kind of sit down and acknowledge like how far we've come,
so
how far you've come from that little tiny voice.
Oh my gosh, like why do
SoundCloud?
I'm still like really shook. Like why did my voice sound like that? Like
how old were you? What, 26, 27?
Yeah, but I have a deep voice.
Yeah. Isn't it so funny?
Oh my gosh.
You know, everything. I feel like that's the first time nerves. That's like I'm sure if you were to listen to like the first 5 episodes, you'd be like, who is this girl?
Oh my gosh.
How have you changed since that voice?
As I mentioned before, I've gotten much less judgmental. And it's like, you know, you hear older people say things like this, like, oh, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. But it's very true. It's very true. Like part of like getting older and getting wiser is just like letting go of any preconceived notions you have about anything and just realizing that there are so many different ways to live life and approach things. And I think I've also become just more sure of my point of view. You know, like to go back to like, you know, sometimes we get offers from people to be on the show that are huge names. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
And feeling confident in that. I think for me, from the first episode that I produced, I feel like I've learned a lot about how to tell a story, honestly, how to like put together a story that makes sense, but also is compelling to people. And it's that same sense of like, you get the email, you see the name, and you're like, And if I'm not excited about it when I'm reading the email, then
know.
I'm probably not going to be excited about it when I'm listening to it. Okay, we have to end on your infamous question. I guess I can answer it as well since I'm a first timer on the pod. But when do you feel most beautiful right now?
Well, you should answer first.
Should I answer first? Oh, okay. Right now, I feel most beautiful in the mornings, but not necessarily like the pre-face wash, pre-brush teeth, I'm so beautiful because I'm just human version. But I have crafted this beautiful, like, multi-sensory morning routine. Ooh. I light incense. I play music. Nice. I'm usually knitting for like 15 to 20 minutes just in the sun in the morning with my coffee. And I think I feel most beautiful then because my life is a reflection of all the things that I wanted. That peace, the ability to curate your home. You talked earlier about your responsibilities sometimes feeling like burdens. And there's this great, I believe it's Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison quote. There's this great quote that I heard this year about what freedom means. And she says, freedom is the ability to choose your responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And that has so I feel most beautiful then because I feel like I'm about to work the job that I want to work. I'm running the business that I've always wanted to have. I'm sipping my coffee. I'm lighting my incense. Like all of these little decisions along the way created the life that I have now. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And it sounds like you've got a great morning. I need to retool my
multi-sensory morning routine. I'm all about it. Like you got to smell something, you got to listen to something, you got to eat something.
Yes, I'm loving that. I need to take notes. For me, it is when my son runs home, he literally comes into the front door and he takes off his shoes and he sprints to me and he's like, "Mommy, mommy." And then he'll find me. I'm usually in the kitchen or in my office, and then he just wants to tell me all about his day.
Yeah.
That just makes me feel so good that he's excited to see me and excited to tell me all the things that happened at school that day. The other night I was reading him a book and he was like, "You're my favorite person to read. When you read to no one reads to me the way you read to me. I love when you read to me. You're my favorite person who reads to me." And I'm just that just makes me feel like I'm doing everything right. You know, it's you can achieve a lot in your career, but there's just something about when your child just shows how much they love you that just makes you feel so good.
And Mavi doesn't even know that you interviewed Issa Rae today. That's crazy.
He doesn't even know that I interviewed Issa Rae today.
I love that. That's such a great note to end on. I'm so excited for you to meet your baby girl.
I am very excited as well. And I'm so excited for you in the way that your business has grown, because I've gotten to see you become an entrepreneur in the past year.
Yeah.
Launch Moyo Studios, bring on clients, bring on corporate clients, launch your own podcast that's incredible, all about books. Give it a quick plug.
It's called Unbound. And yes, I did. I started a whole business. And I think you were a big inspiration for that. Seeing you rebrand Naked Beauty last year was a big light bulb moment for me where I realized I can just start a production.
Yes.
I'm already producing. I can start a
Yeah.
production company. So I think, I hope that similar to me, as one of your former listeners, other people are also encouraged to sort of take the leap and just do the thing. Because truly, what are the stakes?
Yes, do the thing. Just start. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, and do it with love and intention and that creative spark. And that's what makes a good life, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think we say goodbye now until 2025,
I know.
Which feels crazy.
I know. Well, I hope everyone listening has a beautiful holiday season and revisit episodes from past years.
Absolutely.
I've got 8 years of content.
There
you can
is
listen
an
to
archive.
my little baby voice in the 2016 episodes. There's a deep archive, and we'll be back in 2025
I'm
better
excited.
than ever.
Truly, truly. Thanks so much.